If you've been following the University of Idaho tragedy closely, you probably know by now that sometime yesterday, Steve Helling from People magazine, he's a reporter, found out and disclosed to the world that Bryankohberger was in fact following the three female victims, Madison Mogen, Kaylee Goncalves, and Xana KErnodle, on social media. Now, these are screenshots of some social media accounts that were sent to me a while back. I do not know if these are authentic or not. It has been speculated for a long time that Bryankohberger was doing exactly what we now know that he was doing, thanks to Steve Helling from People magazine, and that is to be following the victims on social media and elsewhere. He also found out from a former Mad Greek employee that Bryankohberger at least twice had ordered a vegan pizza from Mad Greek, where we know Madison Mogen and Xana KErnodle were servers. So it seems as though he was crossing paths with them, not in just an accidental manner. Was this intentional? We do not know for sure, but I would surmise that yes, it is. What do you guys think? Knowing these tales about Bryankohberger makes a speculation that some accounts that were not under Bryankohberger's name, such as Pappa Rogers and Inside Looking, might have actually been authored or fueled with Bryankohberger behind the scenes using an alias. We do know that in these social media accounts, Bryankohberger spoke actively about these crimes and became defensive at times when people challenged the way that things went down. On many occasions, it seems that Pappa Rogers and Inside Looking on Reddit just knew too damn much. So what exactly does Pappa Rogers know? Pappa Rogers seemed to know a lot that ended up aligning almost exactly with the actual details of the crime as they were eventually told through the probable cause affidavit. And remember, at the time of these postings, that information had not been released to the public. It had not been released to anyone. So probably the biggest standout detail that Pappa Rogers indicated was that because investigators knew that these horrific crimes were committed with a fixed blade K-bar style knife, according to Pappa Rogers, that must mean that the perpetrator left the knife sheath behind at the scene of the crime. Come on, seriously? What dumbass does that? No one other than Pappa Rogers surmised that because investigators knew the kind of weapon that was used, that must mean that the knife sheath was left behind. Pappa Rogers knew that because that knife sheath was weighing so heavily on Bryankohberger's mind, he just couldn't help but probe and put some bait out there to see if anyone would bite. He wanted so badly to know what law enforcement knew, of course, because he knew how badly he messed up. One post I'd like you to take note of and just tuck it away in that file that has a tab that says, going to revisit soon. So Pappa Rogers says, killer parked behind the house, approached property through tree line, entered sliding door and left it open, committed crime and exited sliding door. One weapon according to coroner's statement. Time of crime approximately 3:20 to 3:40 a.m. according to car fleeing scene and on camera on Highway 8 at approximately 3:45 a.m. So then there's this, and this I believe is the Bryankohberger social media connection that most people give the least amount of credibility, but for some reason all along ever since I heard this voice recording and listened to the words that were said, I have believed that this is the voice of Bryankohberger more than I believe that Pappa Rogers is Bryankohberger or any of the other social media suspicions that people had out there. So now here's the really cool thing, guys. On Dateline the other evening, There was a little bit about people that knew Bryankohberger throughout the years, and they talked to a hairdresser who cut Bryankohberger's hair just this past June, like June of 2022, when he had just moved from Scranton area, Pennsylvania, out to Washington State. So this is really great because this does a few things. This helps to confirm the timeline of when Bryankohberger made his move out west, and many people still wonder why. It's not such a big question for me, but maybe it is a critical question. So this voice message confirms his timeline that he was out there in June. Well, we do kind of know that because in the probable cause affidavit, we learned that his phone was pinging near the victim's residence at 1122 King Road back in June of 2022. And believe it or not, this hairdresser had his voice message from June 2022 for some reason saved. So now we have a voice comparison of what we know to be Bryankohberger to compare to, well, there was a caller who called into some YouTube channels that some people believe is Bryankohberger. I don't really think that's him, and I'm going to tell you why in a little bit. But we also have his actual voice sample to compare to the video that was put out on Facebook. It was widely circulated back in December before the arrest was made. And this voice recording that had a video component to it disclosed so many details that just made your skin crawl. And now that we know what happened, at least per the probable cause affidavit and the information that is leaked, I believe the details that are disclosed are eerily similar to what actually happened. Now, before you get all excited, I know, listen, people have said, hey, that's been debunked. People have posted, or that account has been posted on since Kohberger was arrested. But listen, guys, there's ways to spoof accounts. There's more than one people that can be behind an account. And although you naysayers to this element may be right, I just want you to consider this, all right? So let's take a listen to Bryankohberger's voice as we know it to be his voice via the voice message that he left a hairdresser requesting a haircut back in June. Now here it is.
Hi, my name is Bryan. Would you be able to give me a haircut tomorrow by any chance? Hi, my name is Bryan. Would you be able to give me a haircut tomorrow by any chance?
Okay, so now I just want you to listen to a very small excerpt, just a few syllables, a few words from the Facebook video that was posted in December before the arrest was made, well before anyone knew what happened. That gave a great amount of detail about the crime that I believe has turned out to be rather accurate. Here, take a listen.
Now, if the screen was recorded at 3:38 and the car sped by at 3:45, it's a very tight time frame.
All right, now that you've taken that in, let's listen to the sound clips back to back with no pause in between. So first we're going to listen to the recording of Bryankohberger requesting a haircut, and then we're going to listen to a small excerpt from that video that went around social media that some people, including myself, entertaining the thought that it was Kohberger.
Hi, my name is Bryan. Would you be able to give me a haircut tomorrow by any chance?
Now, if the screen was recorded at 3:38 and the car sped by at 3:45, it's a very tight time frame.
And again, let's listen to the two audio samples, one after another.
Hi, my name is Bryan. Would you be able to give me a haircut tomorrow by any chance?
Now, if the screen was recorded at 3:38 and the car sped by at 3:45, it's a very tight time frame.
So in just comparing those two audio samples, I bet that many people have an opinion of whether that is the same person speaking in the first audio clip and in the second or not. So my opinion is, yeah, it sounds like the same person, but we can get technical because, hey, why not? So I want you to pay attention to the rhythm of the person's voice. So when we're talking about speech, about speaking, the spoken language, there's different elements to speech. Everybody has their own fingerprint of the way they speak, so to speak. So there's rhythm, which is an aspect of prosody, and intonation, stress, tempo, and tone. So the important thing I hear when I'm listening to this person's voice is the rhythm.
Hi, my name is Bryan. Would you be able to give me a haircut tomorrow by any chance?
Now, if the scream was recorded at 3:38 and the car sped by at 3:45, it's a very tight time frame.
So the prosody is the rhythm, the stress, and intonation of speech. It provides a lot of information beyond just what a person's saying. And again, everybody has their own style, their own rhythm, their own prosody. So this includes the pitch of the voice. It can vary between low and high, the length of the sounds, varying between short and long, loudness, prominence, varying between soft and loud, and some other qualities. So when you listen carefully to the audio sample we have of the confirmed Bryankohberger, and I know it's just a short message, and then you listen to the person talking in that video that came out in December where they're detailing the crime, apparently because they know someone in law enforcement who gave them all these details that someone in law enforcement would never give them, or a person. In my opinion, the rhythm, the change in pitch, and the tempo is the same between the two vocal samples. Listen again.
Hi, my name is Bryan. Would you be able to give me a haircut tomorrow by any chance?
Now, if the scream was recorded at 3:38 and the car sped by at 3:45, it's a very tight time frame.
Now, another similarity between the Pappa Rogers postings and this video posting that circulated around social media in December before any of these details were disclosed actually had to do with one of the details that did not align with what we eventually learned of the details of this crime, which is the time during which it occurred. Now, remember, before the PCA was unsealed, the police had the time of the crime as being between 3 a.m. and 4 a.m. One could imagine if Pappa Rogers got the exact time correct, or this person who put this video out that circulated around social media got the exact time correct, and it was after 4 a.m., that would be an absolute dead giveaway that they had some insider knowledge into the crime. Does that make sense? So let's listen to the mentioning of the timing of when the white Hyundai Elantra appeared on security footage camera according to that video that was put out and circulated around social media that I believe is actually Bryankohberger.
They're also desperately looking for this white car. The reason being is that it was seen speeding by an A&W gas station. I don't even know what that is, but anyway, that's, again, it could be wrong. I was just told it was seen speeding by an A&W gas station / hangout at 3:45. Now, if the scream was recorded at 3:38 and the car sped by at 3:45, it's a very tight time frame, but it is possible that the person left immediately and rushed and was seen speeding by.
Now remember, here we have the Pappa Rogers account saying this, and I quote, assailant parked behind the house, approached the property through tree line, entered sliding glass door, left it open, committed crime, and exited sliding door. One weapon was found according to the coroner's statement. Time of the crime, approximately 3:20 a.m. to 3:40 a.m., according to the car fleeing the scene on camera on Highway 8 at approximately 3:45 a.m. Vehicle left skid marks upon exit. So you see both of these alias social media accounts, if that's what you are to believe, the Pappa Rogers account and the account that posted this video to social media way back in December before any details were known, incorrectly pointed to this one piece of information, the car fleeing away from the A&W gas station at 3:45, as being the piece of information that pegged down the time of the murders. Coincidence? I don't know. What do you think? I sort of don't think so. I think if they were to have put forth all these details and got the time of the crime exactly right, that would have been way too suspicious. Please leave a comment letting us know what you think. Are these coincidences enough to tie Bryankohberger to these accounts? And if you haven't heard the entirety of that video that was posted in December and circulated around social media, here it is in its entirety. Please listen carefully.
Into the quadruple homicide in Idaho. I don't want to be any more specific than that because I don't want to put anybody in a challenging or contentious situation regarding their continued employment. And I will say what I'm about to tell you is secondhand, but it is from what I believe to be a very reliable source. Again, this can only be considered a rumor as I don't have firsthand knowledge. I never planned on posting any of this information out of respect for the victims' families. However, now that one of the victims' fathers has released some of the gruesome details himself, I'd like to share some of the investigative theory. As you know, the two women were found in the same bed, but with similar wounds. That's what's being reported. That's not exactly 100% true, at least in regard to the fact that they hadn't fallen to sleep in the same bed. One of the victim's wounds were deep gouges that were delivered with extremely aggressive force, so much so that the victim's liver and lungs were destroyed. Here's the theory that's happening. They definitely think it was a man because of the force of the wounds. The person must have been very strong. They think the man came into the room after doing what they did on the second floor. They went upstairs. The person cleanly and quietly unalived the first victim. The second victim awoke and tried to run. They believe that the man possibly grabbed her, and she screamed loudly. The man then harmed her, and the reason the wounds were of such force, he was delivering it quickly and forcibly to quiet her, which I apologize for how I know it's disturbing, but anyway, how do we know that she screamed? Because 3 individuals reported hearing a scream between 3:45 and 4 o'clock. That's why the police have such a specific time frame as to when the murders occurred, because I don't know if you noticed, but the authorities weren't called the next day until late in the morning, yet they had a very specific time frame when the murder happened. They think the scream is why. And after reviewing video files from the neighborhood, they reviewed security cameras in the area, and they have an audio file where I haven't heard it, but I was told that you can clearly hear a loud scream from a female. That scream was recorded at exactly 3:38 a.m. Neighbors say they didn't call the police because they said there's often loud noise coming from the house. I was told that there are parties there all the time. Again, I don't know if that's true, but it's what I was told. The weapon used was a long serrated-edged hunting knife with a fixed blade. The weapon had not been in the house. The person brought it with them and took it when they left. The 2 victims were on the same bed, not side by side. One victim was found on top of the other. The reason is that the one tried to escape and was grabbed, harmed, and then shoved and fell on top of her friend. That is why there's a lot of problem blood mixtures on at the scene. They're also desperately looking for this white car. The reason being is that it was seen speeding by an A&W gas station. I don't even know what that is, but anyway, that's, again, it could be wrong. I was just told it was seen speeding by an A&W gas station / hangout at 3:45. Now, if the scream was recorded at 3:38 and the car sped by at 3:45, it's a very tight time frame, but it is possible that the person left immediately and rushed and was seen speeding by. Also, the scream may have been what caused the person to quickly leave. That scream could have been what saved the other two roommates' lives. The person knew that they might be detected, so they sped away. Again, this is all just rumor. Take it for what it is. I just pray for these young people. I hope they rest in peace and that their families can find peace after this horrible crime. And I hope that the person who committed it can be brought to justice. Thanks a lot.
Again, please let us know what you think. And as always, our biggest hope is justice for the victims, Maddie, Kaylee, Ethan, and Xana, and peace for their families.